Guys, welcome to another episode of the Combat Veteran Breakdown. I am Paul, your host, combat veteran, MMA fighter, YouTuber, and podcaster. This is a Sunday morning, right? Haven't even finished my coffee edition of the show, but we need to talk about the events of last night. For those of you listening in the far future, last night, Tyrone Woodley and Jake Paul 2 went down, as did UFC Fight Night 199. Now, I'm going to tell you, Jake Paul humiliated the sport of MMA. And I say this as a former MMA fighter and someone who really doesn't care about boxing and definitely doesn't care about Jake Paul. But he didn't humiliate the sport in the way that you think. Now, obviously, we watched Tyrone Woodley get pretty viciously KO'd. And you can check, it is easy to find the footage of that KO. It is actually hard to watch. It is exceptionally bad, even as far as knockouts go. That said, right, we should acknowledge that Tyrone Woodley is a 39-year-old man who is, who had already fought Jake Paul and had already sort of shown his hand, right? Jake Paul knew what he was getting into in that fight. And the fact is, Tyrone Woodley is not only not a boxer, but didn't even have a proper training camp going into that fight. And Jake Paul's camp, of course, very savvy, knew that when Tommy Fury pulled out, they needed to put their champ in front of someone who they knew he could beat. They didn't want to risk any surprises by bringing in someone else, and Tyrone Woodley was a great choice for them. So stylistically, right, I feel like Tyrone may have been set up to fail a little bit, but I think he knew that too going in. And this leads me to what I really wanted to talk about here, is the extreme, comical, preposterous pay disparity between fighters in the UFC and boxing, right? And it is one of the things, the way the UFC treats its fighters, and I can say this as a rando podcaster who, with 4,000 subscribers, right? The UFC just treats its fighters like absolute garbage. I honestly remain shocked that it is legal, even in the US, a country not exactly known for protecting its workers, that the UFC can get away with these things. Now, I want to first discuss the other fight card, UFC Fight Night 199, and it was awesome. Two absolute fan favorites in the form of Cub Swanson and Darren Elkins went at it. Cub Swanson got the finish in with just a brutal flurry of strikes. I mean, I don't think I've seen someone hit a wheel kick that clean. And to Darren Elkins' credit, he was completely out on his feet and still looked convincingly like he was still in the fight. And for this incredible performance, both of these guys are also Tyrone Woodley's age, actually. They're both in their late 30s, I think. Cub Swanson is 38 and Darren Elkins is 39, I believe. So truly like a vintage performance from some vintage guys. I mean, when I was in college, I watched Cub Swanson tear it up in the WEC. Remember him fighting Uriah Faber for a title. So really incredible to see him still in the game. But this is, again, sort of the larger meta conversation here is, what is the game exactly that the UFC is playing on not just guys like Cub Swanson, but the guys sort of under that? And let's talk about that, right? And let's talk about the pay. We need to be honest about this. Now, first off, I want to talk about what Tyrone Woodley made to get knocked out after 6 rounds. And this is important because when you get knocked out and you have that level of concussion, your chances of things like dementia increase tremendously. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can look up Spencer Fisher. In fact, it's so common, it has its own name, dementia pugilistica. And so developing dementia is more likely. It's going to onset much earlier. The strange thing is when you have a lot of repeated concussions, other health problems seem to crop up. And there's less hard data on it, but a lot of things look like just overall poor health outcomes tend to happen. And as we've seen with CTE, right, it's not just things like you're more likely to have high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, neurological conditions, all sorts of other stuff. But when you have repeated concussions, right, the brain isn't just a part of who you are. The brain is who you are. And when you look at athletes who take a lot of concussions, over time you start to see changes in personality. And some of those are really, really scary. I look at someone like John Jones, who is not a great person by most metrics, but seems to be getting worse as the years go on. And I think a large part of that is the brain damage he takes, not in his fights necessarily, because he generally doesn't take a lot of damage in his fights, but just in sparring day in, day out, again and again, right? You can see him engaging in more and more reckless behavior as time goes on. And that's really common, right? You saw it with Mike Tyson. You see it with a lot of these combat sports athletes. You saw it even with wrestlers like Chris Benoit. And there is a lot of evidence that impulsivity, anger issues, all these sort of neurological or personality changes, memory issues is another big one, all of these changes are related to repeated blows to the head, even if they don't necessarily rise to the level of what we saw, say, Tyrone Woodley take last night. So if you're going to do that, right, you're going to risk your future for these paydays. What exactly is the price? I mean, what's the price you would have to know that you may, in 5, 10, 15 years, you may not be able to work anymore. You may not be the same person that your children call dad or that your wife married. You know, you may have to stop working far earlier. In the end of your life, you may not know or remember your grandkids, right? Like, what is the price of taking that chance? And of course, you're going to say, I know. That's a chance that we all take, right? Anyone can develop health issues. But you know that it's way more likely when you participate in these combat sports, right? And what exactly did Tyrone Woodley get paid for doing all this? Well, we don't know for sure, but let's see if we can get an estimate. And for that, I have untitled Google spreadsheet. But don't worry, for those of you listening on Spotify or iTunes or another podcast app like Google, one, if you're on iTunes, leave a brother a review. I'd appreciate it. But also, I will walk you through all my conclusions verbally. All right, so we're going to call it Fighter Payout because I am unable to create a spreadsheet without a title, right? So, Tyrone Woodley just went out and got shellacked in the 6th round by Jake Paul. Now, what do we know Tyrone Woodley earned? Well, we don't know the exact amount of his purse, but we know in his initial fight, he had a guaranteed purse of $2 million. So I think his management must have known, right? Must have only wanted to put in front of Jake Paul a last-minute opponent change that he felt prepared for, right? So if I was Tyrone Woodley's management, I would know that basically he could reach out to Tyrone Woodley, Ben Askren, and that's pretty much it. Almost no one else would have interest in fighting Jake Paul. So that fans would want to see. So if I was Tyrone's management, I would demand more. I would be looking at $3 million plus. But let's use $2 million, right? We're gonna keep our estimates lowball, and that is the purse. Now, he also has pay-per-view points. Now, what is a typical pay-per-view points? Well, let's see. Points, let's talk Conor McGregor, right? What does he get? So, Conor McGregor has, let's see, what is his pay-per-view buy deal? Okay, there we go. Here's an example of a UFC buy deal. Okay, $1 for every pay-per-view sold. Okay, so I think if you're Tyrone, right, that it's sold for $60, right? So let's do some math. $60 per pay-per-view times, we'll say it did as well as the last time they fought, which is $500,000. And then we'll lowball it. We'll say Tyrone Woodley's cut was only $1, right? So, or rather, so that's a pay-per-view point. In fact, we don't even need the initial price, right? I like to believe he gets, yeah, so $1 would be like 3-4%. So, okay, you're like, Paul, why did you put that into the equation? I thought it was going to be more complicated. He earned $500,000 in pay-per-view points. $500,000 equals 500,000. Thank you. Okay, $500,000 in pay-per-view points. But wait, there's still more, because unlike the UFC, the media landscape around Triller does not regulate, as far as I can tell, its fighters' sponsorship deals. I hypothesize that probably they say, listen, you can't have a sponsor that is a competitor of a Triller sponsor. So like Tyrone probably couldn't have been sponsored, I don't know, let's say Red Bull sponsored them. Then Tyrone Woodley couldn't be sponsored by Monster Energy. This is my guess. I have no evidence for this other than the good business practice. So let's talk about sponsor deals. Sponsor deals, 2 words. All right, so sponsorship deals. Now, we can look at Tyrone Woodley's Instagram and learn a little bit about who may be sponsoring him. First off, you can see here, he is sponsored most prominently by Dude Wipes, right there on the back of his shirt. Now, let's assume that Dude Wipes, right, and that's the only sort of evidence, that's the only connection I could see to Dude Wipes, like it didn't accompany an Instagram post or anything like that. But I'm going to assume that Dude Wipes, right, paid $20 for every 1,000 views. That's about what I get from my ads, right? That's about what Instagram pays per follower you put it in front of. So I think it's pretty reasonable to say that Tyrone Woodley probably had, again, Dude Wipes, we're talking about 500,000, 500,000 times, or sorry, 500 is the number, that's the thousands of viewers, times $20. So he made $10,000 additionally for having Dude Wipes on his shorts. But that's not his only sponsor for this fight, right? Because if we look at this, it links, so in his bio, he has a link to Cosmic Wire's Discord, right? And I'm invited to Cosmic Wire. I don't know if I need to be on Cosmic Wire. But he has a link to his Discord to something called Cosmic Wire. And if we scroll down here, wait, can you guys see this? Yeah, we scroll down here, you can see Cosmic Wire sponsored the official Tyrone Woodley Fight Night NTFs. Yeah, 2021 is here, dogs. Fight Night NTFs for the rematch against Jake Paul. First ever official limited 250-piece PFP NTF is live today. Owners get exclusive access to a celebration event in LA in February. Link in bio. Tags Cosmic Wire. Tags someone named Gerard Finnick. Right? I don't know. There's Gerard Finnick is maybe associated with Cosmic Wire. Yep, CEO of Cosmic Wire. Exactly. So let's look at, right, what do you think this got? This is Cosmic Wire, a link in a bio, and an exclusive sponsorship deal. Well, Tyrone Woodley has 2.1 million Instagram followers. So let's do an estimate here. I'm assuming for that level of integration, not only using your name and likeness and putting up the exclusive access events, and for the fact that, you know, what's the word I want? Like he used his name and likeness and put the link in the bio and did all this other stuff, right? So I assume that Cosmic Wire is probably paying him, let's see, So $20 per 1,000 views. And given that he has 2.1 million Instagram followers, that is 2,100 thousands of followers, right? So giving him a payout of, come on, man, you guys can multiply. I believe in you, Google Sheets. Nope, Google Sheets does not believe in me. Okay, I want you to multiply. Oh, okay, I forgot. Times 2,100 gives us $50,000. 42,000. 42,000 is what he made from Cosmic Wire, right? Okay, so we can estimate that Tyrone Woodley's total compensation probably comes in around, let's see, probably comes in around $2,552,000 for that particular fight. That doesn't, now again, if I may have gotten it wrong, but it doesn't include sort of secondary effects, like he now has grown a lot of followers on Instagram, meaning he can do even more Instagram promotions at that rate. There's a lot of opportunities, right? His YouTube channel has grown considerably, right? Some of his pre-fight camp videos. So there's a lot of opportunities that have opened up for Tyrone Woodley as a result of this that are not directly reflected in this monetization. So again, and this is for a late notice replacement of someone with a grand total of 2 boxing fights, but a decent social media following and a name. If he didn't before, he definitely has it now. Now, I want to talk about the other knockout. First off, we can look at Darren Elkins. Why Darren Elkins? Well, because he, like Tyrone Woodley, is a veteran of the game. Right? He has been in the UFC a long time. In fact, his earliest fights in the UFC were in 2010. All right, so let's talk about Darren Elkins' purse. Right, Darren Elkins' fight purse. Okay, what did he make? Well, we can be pretty sure that he walked away with, let's see, what is his most recent fight night? Okay, so October 2010, Darren Elkins made, here we go. In July, he made $205,000 for a win. But that is because he had $67,000 to show, $67,000 to win, and a $50,000 performance bonus, and $21,000 in what they call fight week incentive pay. And that is just the UFC's sponsorship deal, because the UFC forbids its fighters from not only having their own sponsorship deals of any kind during fight week, and they forbid their fighters from even wearing brands that conflict with the UFC's sponsors. UFC doesn't pay them for not wearing Nikes because Reebok sponsors the UFC. The UFC just imposes these restrictions on their behavior. So, and they can have no sponsors on their uniforms because, well, they're uniforms. So let's talk about this, right? So 205K is probably exceptionally high. So he lost, right? So we can say that he probably earned, in purse terms, 67K plus another 21K of fight week, right? So we're looking at 67 plus, so he earned 67 plus his 21, right? That right there is his purse. And we'll make this extra visible, right? Who doesn't love a little extra visibility? Let me see if I can zoom in. Can I zoom in here? No, I can't. All right, so surprised. Zoom, yeah, there you go. Boom. Now this, let's see, can we zoom even more? Yeah, that's the sort of clear visibility you guys are here for, right? Okay, so Darren Elkins, 67, $88,000 is his purse, right? Though actually, we should do this right. Is his purse plus his UFC mandated sponsorship compensation. But let's see. Let's check his Instagram, right? I mean, Darren Elkins is a well-known veteran fighter. And he has 44,000 Instagram followers. Now that is enough to monetize an Instagram. I can guarantee you that. And he doesn't appear to have any sponsors in his bio. Again, I'll point this out. The UFC has a lot of sponsors. So it would actually be hard to find sponsors that don't conflict with the UFC's. Anything sort of associated with, I mean, anything that you could sell to young men, the UFC has a sponsor for. Right? He has one link to something that says UFC Ultimate Sound. Darren Elkins. Where does this take us? Let's see. Darren Elkins, listen to your favorite artist, personalize your music experience using our simple app. So you can listen to the music that Darren Elkins listens to. Okay, it's kind of a weird thing, but all right. So let's see. Is there any sponsored post? Nope. Ready for battle. Fight week, let's go. 2 weeks to glory, put on a show. Hawaii photo dump. And back at it again, announcing the fight. Okay, so we can say pretty safely that Darren Elkins didn't have any sponsors going into this fight. Doesn't appear to even be attempting to really monetize. So he obviously got no pay-per-view points, and he had no additional sponsorship deals. So we can say that the total for that fight is just his $88,000 in compensation. Now, bear in mind, yes, Tyrone Woodley is a former UFC champion, but Darren Elkins has been fighting for the UFC for a long time. In fact, he has been fighting for 10 years and has 26 UFC fights. So this is one of the most experienced, most veteran people in the whole game. Let's see, Tyrone Woodley record. How does Tyrone Woodley's record stand out? So Tyrone Woodley actually has far fewer fights, 19-7-1 in the UFC. So 19-7-1 in total. So you're looking at Darren Elkins, while he was never the champ, well, obviously he's headlining fights in the largest MMA promotion in the world, and is it has something like 10 more fights under his belt than Tyrone Woodley ever did as an MMA fighter. And yet, Tyrone Woodley earned $2.5 million. Darren Elkins earned $88,000. And I want to help us understand exactly the scale of this disparity, right? So we will actually take how many times more is 2.5 million than 88 million? 29, guys. 29 even. That's right. Tyrone Woodley just earned 30 times what Darren Elkins earned for headlining a UFC fight and losing. Both of these men lost their fights. These are the salaries of the losers. Tyrone Woodley, 2.5 million. Darren Elkins, 88,000. Is Tyrone Woodley 29 times the fighter that Darren Elkins is? I've seen them both fight. Tyrone Woodley, I'm going to tell you, is an upstanding human being and an accomplished wrestler. But as far as being an entertaining fighter, his style is not that. They call him, his nickname in the UFC was the Frozen One because of his unwillingness to push the action and go for the kill. Darren Elkins is called the Damage because his fights are characterized by so many rounds or blows being thrown that Darren Elkins ends all of his fights looking like a battered mess because Darren Elkins is a come-from-behind legend. A legend. And yet, despite being the vastly more entertaining fighter and someone who has probably been in the UFC as long or longer than Tyrone Woodley and headlining a UFC card the same night Tyrone Woodley fought a YouTuber, he earned 1/30 of the pay. 1/30. if these were annual salaries, if it took Tyrone Woodley a year to earn $2.5 million, right? If he did nothing else for the whole year, it would take him a week and a half to earn Darren Elkins' salary. Okay, that math doesn't make any sense. I understand. But please grasp that this is comical that highly paid, highly trained athletes are making this sort of money, or not making it, rather. This seems like a fair and just compensation, in my opinion, right? For the damage that you're taking, especially because remember, Tyrone Woodley is also 5-time UFC welterweight champion, actor, stuntman, analyst, morning wood show host, Hollywood beatdown host on TMZ, right? So Tyrone Woodley has a career in talking, in using his brain, and so to risk that brain, you have to get paid something more than you think you're going to make with all this other stuff, right? The risk has to be appropriate. Darren Elkins, $88,000, dude. $88,000. And I want you to remember, both of these men have to pay to have a camp. One, Tyrone Woodley didn't really have a camp, so score, right? Darren Elkins, though, had likely paid nutritionists, coaches, if UFC fighters even pay their own flights and often hotels to get to the venue, or I think they may get some of it paid for, but their coaches do not, which obviously you have to have your coaches. So there's a lot of expenses that go into this, but I'm not done yet. There's one other person I wanted to talk about to give you just an idea of just how unequal this world is. And I want you guys to bear in mind about the UFC. The UFC is the NBA. They are the NFL. They are the MLB. There are dozens, hundreds of small fight leagues where fighters truly do fight for peanuts. They fight for like gas money. And Harry Hunt, right? So the UFC is the top tier league. But what exactly do they pay their new recruits, the people who just got in? Well, here's a guy named Harry Hunsucker. Harry Hunsucker is a first-time making his UFC debut. He is 32 years old, and he was on the receiving end of a vicious knockout at the hands of up-and-comer Justin Tafa. Right? Let's see if Justin put his knockout highlight reel knockout on Instagram. All right, it's not loading. Let's see. It's not on here, right? Because God forbid you promote your own career, right? You don't even own your own knockouts. That's the UFC for you. Point out, Tyrone Woodley could definitely put, to his immense credit, put his knockout on his Instagram, which is both a sign of his character that he owns his failings, but also a sign of the fact that Triller understands that promoting your show on social media is important and just the way to do business. So here's Harry Hunsucker. What exactly did he just earn for his fight? Well, I looked it up. Harry Hunsucker, right? He earned, let's see. So he earned $28,000 for showing up, right? $28,000 in his purse. He obviously had no pay-per-view points. In sponsorship, he had the UFC mandated $11,000. I know for Darren Elkins we included it, but you have to break this out, right? And when we look at his Instagram, we don't really see any sponsors. Nothing in his bio. General manager at Elite Martial Arts. Yep. Talks about it's underdog season. I came here to fight. Tagging MMA Junkie. Fight is still on. This is because he may have gotten a small boost because his opponent actually did not make weight. which sounds insane because the heavyweight limit is 265 pounds, and his opponent came in just over, which is pretty scary because his opponent then went on to brutally knock him out. And is it fair to get knocked out when your opponent carries around more weight than they are supposed to? I don't know. But he came all the way out there and he wants to fight. He also tags his management team, Rise Sports Management Group, which appears to have another one of their talents fighting in Brawl by the Falls, and Jeff Holmes and Mike DeMakis at the Bluegrass Sportplex. Yeah, and they apparently, Joel Bennett, who's about to make his professional debut. Yeah, this is a pretty, this doesn't look like a huge deal. Cage Titans, yeah. Apparently I have somebody in Bellator, right? So not exactly a super impressive sports management group, but certainly not a sponsor, right? There we go. They aren't a sponsor, right? They're his management team. He met Tyrone Woodley, and there's a picture of his family. It seems like he has a nice family. The point of this is, I don't see any evidence that he did any sponsorship deals or is monetizing in any way, shape, or form, right? So he appears to have no other revenue streams other than what he was paid. So what exactly did he earn? Well, we can take a look, and $39,000. Which one? What do you even make of the fact that your title, your headliner made $88K, and your bottom of the barrel guys made $39,000, right? True madness. And here's the thing, man. These guys are all in their 30s. They all aren't going to be able to do this forever. Tyrone Woodley made not quite not work again money, but man, he is close. Between these two fights, Tyrone Woodley will never have to work again. He should only work if he wants to. Darren Elkins, after taxes and after expenses, probably made out with about $40K. If he can keep fighting 4 times a year, he can maybe make $120,000 a year. If he was really lucky, but he's 38 years old and he's taken a lot of brain damage for it. Harry Hunsucker, right? $39,000 probably feels, that's probably what he makes in a year as the manager at Elite Sportsplex. But, guys, Harry Hunsucker took brain damage, serious brain damage, in exchange for that happening. And look, man, he's got 3 young kids. He's got a wife. Can he be taking these risks, you know? I mean, for $39K, guys, for $39K. It's hard to see these numbers, man, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for Jake Paul. It's embarrassing for the UFC. Honestly, it's embarrassing for Harry's management company to get him to not be trying to get him to monetize somehow. You think someone would sponsor someone with 50,000 Instagram followers? Someone would. Net him a couple $100. Let him pay for his drinks. You know, have him do a YouTube channel, something so that you're not just a faceless guy getting KO'd viciously by an up-and-comer. And again, I mean, Darren Elkins doesn't do the same thing, right? I don't know if he has a big social media presence, but here's the best thing. Here's all his sponsors. This is from a week ago. Shout out to my sponsorship team for all the help in preparation for this fight. Okay, so maybe he has sponsors, but they include Jake's Cigar Bar, Planet Pawn, York's Automotive, Ed McDaniel for City Commissioner, right? The Limestone Grill, and then some of these appear to be services that he uses, like CrossFit, and like a CrossFit gym, a massage therapist, podcast called Open Mat Chat Podcast. But here's the thing. One, this got 28 likes, and what did they get for sponsoring him? Like, what did they receive? Right? He didn't shout them out on his Instagram. He didn't talk about them. Maybe he talked about them in interviews and I didn't see it. Right? Or obviously he shouted them out on his Instagram now. But like a general contractor, these aren't promotional opportunities, right? He's not promoting them. He's just putting their images on his Instagram. They don't even link in the bio. There's Ed McDaniel. Ed McDaniel for Richmond showed up, and he has 198 followers. But he's good. You know, good on you. I hope he's a good guy. I hope he does good for the city of Richmond, Kentucky. But you see what I mean? This is somebody who is, one, he's not really helping himself, but man, the UFC should be helping their fighters. The UFC should be working tirelessly to get their fighters sponsorship deals. But instead, the UFC is taking all the sponsorship money for themselves. I mean, look, every single thing that is on camera is sponsored, right? The only things that don't have sponsors on them are the fighters themselves, and they don't make a dime for it. And it is criminal that happens to fighters. Anyway, guys, I have ranted about this for almost 40 minutes, but I hope you guys understand that the level of not just inequality, but yeah, the level of like exploitation that the UFC does is just laid so bare by Jake Paul and Triller Fight Club, because they are offering something that looks closer to fair pay for these events. Right? These fighters take tremendous risks. They take tremendous risks to their brain, and they are paid peanuts for it. Peanuts. Right? You could make more money, Harry Hunsucker could make more money as a welder or a cop than a fighter. Darren Elkins could probably make more money as a, not a welder or cop, but certainly if he could make more money probably boxing on the undercard of a Triller Fight Club card than he can headlining a UFC event, right? I don't know what I want you guys to do about it, right? I don't know, ask Dana White to pay his fighters more. He doesn't even own the company. It's now owned by a sports management company, which is ironic because, of course, management companies' entire reason for existing is getting their talent paid, and yet they can't pay their own talent. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe. Be sure to comment down below with more stuff you want me to talk about. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.